Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Tiff Talks Tech. Today, I have brought one of my really good friends, Robert Turnbull, on to talk about AI. And I know that's such a buzzword, and that's why this episode is called Beyond Buzzwords. And we'll be talking about AI's impact on the customer experience because AI is the hot topic right now. And as we both work for an AI company, we are both at BetterBot. I thought this would be a great time for us to just dive into it even further. But before we do that, Robert, can you share a little bit about you and your experience in the multifamily industry?
Yeah, certainly. And thanks for having me on. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. This, as you know, is probably one of my favorite topics. I
Yeah.
could talk for hours, but we won't do that. We'll keep it short. Yeah, my background is funny because I'm now, and it's weird to say this, marking the quarter century in multifamily. If you had told me years ago that I would be in a quarter century in a multifamily industry, I would have said, "What's multifamily?" So here we are, and I've seen so many things change. But in my beginning, we helped found start apartmentguide.com in 1999, and later realestate.com, metals.com, RentWiki, RentAdvisor, basically a lot of internet listing sites. But then a few years ago, I started dabbling in the kind of live chatbot space with IBM Watson, GetJenny, Chatfield, all these companies. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is the future of multifamily. And so we've been at it for about 6 years. And I've had more fun this past 6 years than I have ever had in 25 years of multifamily. There's the quick background, Robert.
But yeah, and Robert's my go-to person if I ever have a question with AI. I'm like, hey, what do you think? Why do people think robots are gonna rule the world? Like, I have the most random questions, and I always
Sure.
like,
You
yeah,
always try to figure that out.
like, why is everybody scared of AI? It's great. I love it. Yeah, but so I think there is a little bit of confusion around some of the basics regarding AI. So maybe let's dive into the differences between natural language processing and LLMs because they're everywhere these days.
Yeah, and that's a great place to start. Let me back up even a step further, which is the difference between AI and automation, first of all, because the two get confused so often. Automation just means a repeatable process, but automation in itself isn't learning. AI, artificial intelligence, infers and means that there is a machine learning component. So for each action or interaction, the machine, if you will, is learning from that interaction. So that is a big difference between automation and AI. So, but
Mhm.
then you get into, all right, let's talk about AI and NLP, natural language processing, and LLM is large language models. They are both basically trying to figure out how to communicate to an end user. NLP is really natural language processing, or what I refer to as legacy NLP, the NLP of the past, is basically a bunch of words combined, and then a technology is trying to figure out how, in combination, those words have some kind of meaning or what we call sentiment. And then it takes its best guess and then tries to string together some other words to answer those words. And that's what NLP, which is cool, but it just only works about half the time and doesn't really have a good sense for what we call layered and tensor questions. So 2, 3, 4, 5 questions. So along comes large language models. This is an entirely different product. It's an entirely different technology. Why? Because large language models, you see GPT-4, went out and boiled down the entire internet, the whole world, and looked for patterns of humanity. But that's really bizarre when you think about it. It wasn't just looking for stringing words. It was looking for patterns in how humanity engages and interacts. And so because it looked for patterns to humanity, it can very easily emulate how humans or humanity, how we engage. So large language models is truly a next generation from your legacy NLP. And there is a big, big difference in how the two approach solving the conversational problem.
Yeah, and it's crazy. One of the things we've talked about before is how ChatGPT taught itself different languages just by yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
And yeah, said, hey, what's this new stuff coming through? Oh, it's a different language. I guess I should learn every language in the world. That's the frightening part, as you were alluding to earlier. Some people get nervous and they hear stuff like that.
Yeah. So because it's always learning, how does it put together information in a way that property managers can use it and make the most of it.
So how can property managers specifically utilize AI?
Yeah, like how does AI grab that data and package it in a way that we can all understand it?
Yeah, and so I will say that there are different parts. Okay, so first of all, there's what we call generative AI,
Yeah.
as you know. So it's building some kind of communication. So that could be chat. It could be, hey, go in and write a story. There is basically data recognition or data pattern recognition. So it looks for patterns and starts to extrapolate thoughts. And so there are very different kinds of AI. For the purposes of property manager, let's just look at it this way. Property managers or leasing agents are stuck behind their desks doing a humongous amount or volume of interactions, replying to chats and emails and conversations on phone and so forth. What they really need to be doing is getting out in front of the people and talking to people, residents, potential residents, and so forth. So the best way and the simplest way to put it is AI can and should be used to get the leasing agents out from behind their desk, behind their laptop. And we can, using AI, almost eliminate 95% of what we refer to as non-physical activities. So that just means, typing behind the desk. And that's where AI can really, really help them and give them their time back. And also, it benefits the consumer 24/7, 365. They're getting accurate responses by text, by email, by chat, by phone, where people are sleeping at night. So, this is where AI can benefit not only the property managers, leasing agents, but the consumers as well.
Yeah, and you kind of teed me up perfectly for my next question. And in what ways can it streamline those processes? What kind of processes can it do for us?
Yeah, there's processes. So, let's just start from the beginning. You've got a prospect, a person who wants to lease at a property or properties. They have information. They reach out. Maybe that's phone, maybe that's chat, maybe it's email or text, whatever it is. But today's consumer isn't confined in their thinking of, well, I can only get information between 9 to 5. Well, they actually want information at 11 p.m., at 3 a.m., wherever they are, whenever they are. And so AI can do that. It can provide that information to the consumer on demand. And so the process number one is just getting good information back to the leasing from the leasing team to the prospect. Then you have AI technologies that assist in the leasing process. You have AI technologies that can help residents, maybe some maintenance issue, maybe they got locked out, maybe they have questions about how to rent the top floor for parties. Again, these are just so many questions that are repetitive that the leasing teams just they don't really have time and they shouldn't have to be answering these same questions over and over. That's where AI can help and all of those to process at any stage, quite frankly, even in the move out stage. What's the move out checklist? It can help provide that.
Yeah, and I think that it really is there to support us. I know one of the fears that we hear all the time is that AI is going to replace our jobs and blah, blah, blah. No. And like you're saying, it's helping the leasing team get out from behind the desk and do the things that are important, like connecting with other people. I mean, AI can't do that for us.
It is true, and it's funny. I don't know if you want to talk about this now or at some point, but the subject of replacing jobs is coming up because, quite frankly, in
Yeah.
some sectors, it is
Yeah.
replacing jobs,
Yep.
coders and other things. And so there are segments and sectors where you're seeing AI actually replace jobs. What's really interesting is a stat that I think you and I both heard back in the 1940s. If you look at from the 1940s to today, 60% of the jobs that exist today exist because of technology and they're new jobs. So technology, yeah, it might replace some people, but it also does create new jobs. And AI will do that too. We just have to be adaptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's not
I
let's
saw a
embrace it.
quote that one of my friends, Sydney Weber, posted, and she said, AI marketers, AI is not going to replace you. Marketers who know how to use AI will replace you. And
Bingo.
I keep butchering that quote, but somebody asked me if I was scared of that, and I'm like, no, because I'm a solo girl and AI is helping me do a lot of things way quicker and more efficiently. So I'm
Absolutely.
happy.
That's a great point. And actually, so Zlatko, my business partner and co-founder here at BetterBot, made a great comment. He said, Property management companies shouldn't fear AI. What they need to fear is other property management companies using AI.
Mm.
So if you don't adopt it as a property management company and another company is, just like you said, Tiffany, you're going to become more efficient, streamline processes. They're going to be wildly more competitive. That's who your competition is, not AI. So it's a good way to kind of put that in perspective.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that AI, we can nurture leads with it. How does it play a part in generating leads and converting them? It's obviously not doing everything because it can't do all of it, but what is the part that it plays?
Yeah, that's interesting that you ask it that way. So let's look at the fact that some AI, when leads come in and AI is designed, so let's just say an email comes in from an internet listing site, then you have the AI that responds, answers questions, does it usually within a minute or two, very timely, very accurate. That's what we call lead management. But AI can generate leads as well, or conversations, because rather than just sitting it like a catcher's mitt and collecting the lead as it comes in, let's actually put it out into the marketplace. So imagine putting your bot, if you will, out on Meta or Pinterest or formerly Twitter, now X, or any of these places. Google My Business, which I think is now Google Business Profile. All of these places actually are fantastic areas to begin to facilitate questions and conversations there before it ever even gets to your CRM or to you. And that conversation is now powerful enough it can answer most of those questions, give virtual tours, and even schedule appointments out in the open marketplace before it ever hits you as a lead. So that in that context, it becomes a lead generation, or as I like to call it, a conversation generation tool.
Yeah, and I know, before large language models were really making a huge impact, a lot of it was templated and it really wasn't quite a nurture. It was more just like dealing with some of the tasks. And now it really is nurturing the lead and other potential renters because it is having an emotional and empathetic response. And that's something that we've always said. Back when I started at BetterBot, we would say, "Well, it doesn't show empathy." So but now it does. So that's
That okay, so there's this like division between cool and scary.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, when we started BetterBot years ago, we thought, well, you can't replace the human empathy, right? And we were wrong. Large language models can emulate empathy. So sorry to hear about that. Or thank you for your honesty. This is what it's saying because it studied patterns of humanity versus just stringing words together. And so because it did that approach, it absolutely can begin to emulate that empathy. Actually, I don't know if you listeners know of the Turing test. Alan Turing, kind of the godfather of AI from the World War II days. The Turing test is, can you tell that it's a human or a machine? Up until large language models, you could inevitably, after only about 90 seconds, you could tell. You can't now. You can't tell even in voice. It's scary how much it emulates. And so large language models truly have changed the game.
Yeah, and I know people have always said like, "Oh, well, we don't enjoy conversing with AI," and now I do. If it can help me get what I want, sure, I don't care. I'd rather talk to a bot.
Can show empathy, can show humor. We had one person who asked in an email, "Do you give discounts to military personnel?" We use many large language models. In this case, it was GPT-4. Responded and said, "First of all, thank you for your service." Really? I was like, who told it to say that? And the answer was, well, we kind of do it in the prompting and we provide a persona, but it just kind of knew to do that. And I thought, oh my gosh, it was, you know,
It's a little bit scary because I mean, we've all heard things about AI just making up answers to give an answer. And I think that is why it's so important in multifamily that when you're looking for tools to use, you find one that has put the proper guardrails in place because it does show empathy, but it can kind of tweak the answer to give you what you want.
yep, yep. Well, and there's a feedback. And so, I want to be very honest though. Look, AI is not going to entirely get leasing agents and staff off the hook. So what people have to say, well, what if it gets it wrong? What if it, well, I guarantee you it's getting it wrong less than your own people did.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
it it's answering information in minutes, not days or hours. And the information it's giving is hyper accurate 99% of the time. Is it going to get it wrong sometimes? Yeah, it will. But I bet you that's less often than your own people get it wrong or don't even respond at all. But what they really need to be doing is instead of the good news is they don't have to spend hours. Leasing teams don't have to spend hours reading and writing and responding to emails. They can spend minutes just providing oversight. So go into the system and check out how the system, the platform is responding and provide feedback. And that feedback is what optimizes the conversation moving forward. So you still got to monitor it. And that's important that humans are still monitoring and optimizing these responses.
Yeah. I do want to shift gears a little bit and talk about analytics and AI. And we know AI can do so many things for us. And how can it help mold the analytics for us in a way that can help us take action?
So there is a term I wrote, like BI, which is business intelligence, where it gathers information and looks for correlations, causations, recommendations, and all that stuff. BI has been far, far ahead of AI until recently. And so there's this massive disparity between capabilities. BI is Microsoft BI or whatever it is.
Yeah.
When you feed it the right stuff, it's going to provide some really cool stuff. AI has not been there until recently. Now you can actually go in and provide a subset of data and ask it to analyze, make recommendations, correlations, causations, and all that. And I don't know that it's entirely there to the level that BI, very advanced BI is, but it's moving really quick. And some of the cool findings, the way it looks at data is different than how we look at data. And more often than not, some of the recommendations and correlations and causations are right, but in a way that we never thought of. So it's kind of cool to see how it's thinking through this. I do think that AI will play with BI. The two will come together and become ABI. I don't really know.
ABC.
They'll right ABCD. So you're going to have these two kind of converge, and then you're going to really have some powerful tools on your hand. I think that's going to happen within the next year.
Ooh, that's exciting stuff. Yeah, as marketers, I mean, we're always into the data, so having more tools is going to be great.
Yeah. And do some of the legwork. I mean, a lot of that's like putting all the information and doing the legwork. And then you start to, well, imagine it can do the legwork too, right? Just saves you more time.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I was talking with another friend about, and he works with data exclusively, and I'm like, one of the things that I would do on the property management side is spend hours putting together reports and trying to get all the information I need. So if I have AI tools that can make that easier, sign me up.
All day.
Yeah. I want to talk about, we already a little bit covered some of the benefits of leveraging AI, but I know there is kind of a tangible number,
Hmm.
and talking about the return on investment. Of course, we're putting money into these tech tools, and what's it going to do for us back?
So one benefit I want to throw out that people don't often talk about, and that is quality of life. When
Mhm.
you have leasing agents who are spending in people properties, spending all of this time doing monotonous, repetitive, mundane, menial, low reward tasks, they feel great about that? No, it's not fun. So if you have this AI tool that can take at least some of that off the table, and then they can go out and do what they do best, which is engage with humans and stuff and get away from behind the desk, the quality of life just went up. If you're an employer and you provide an AI assistant to help them, give them a quality of life, that's something pretty powerful and not something people talk enough about, quite honestly. But, so if you're getting into some of the other tools the benefits, yeah, we go back to the streamlining, we go back to getting them out in front of their communities and engaging humans in the only way that humans can engage. And look, are we going to have robots one day actually doing tours? Maybe. But I do think that there's something very powerful about the human engagement. I don't know if we're ever going to walk away. Same reason when I like to read, I still use a book. I read because I want to touch it. It's tangible. And I don't think that that's going to go away. I think we're still going to create the human.
Yeah, you know what's funny? I was a leasing agent for all of 6 months, and I was really bad at it. And I had one lease my entire 6. Yeah, I was really bad at it. But I had one lease and I had all this paperwork I had to do, and I didn't even do all the paperwork correctly. And I didn't get my leasing bonus or whatever for my one lease in 6 months. And
Oh,
I
that's
feel
funny.
like if I had an AI solution to help me
Right.
gather
You
the
had at least two
paperwork,
leases.
help me, yeah, like help me do some of that, maybe I would have gotten my leasing bonus. Maybe.
That's funny. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah. No, I didn't enjoy it. I'm a marketer, but I'm not the front facing salesperson.
Yeah. Well, and look, that's kind of, and you have some people who are better at back end stuff and don't necessarily
Yeah,
want to get out. Maybe they're the people that are providing some oversight with AI, but get your communicators out in front. It's what
yeah,
they like doing. It's what they're best at. It's what people enjoy.
exactly. And I know this is something I know you're planning to talk about at Apartmentalize, but there is an ROI attached with using AI. And obviously, people are saving time, but that translates into money. Can we talk a little bit about that?
It does. So, yeah, the other benefits, there are so many things, and we will be talking about this. And I have seen so many sessions in AI, and I always walk away with two things. One, that's pretty cool. Two, where's the data? Where is the data to support the material impact it's going to have on our business and leasing? I haven't seen it. So we actually went in and did a very extensive case study with a couple of management companies, and it's fascinating. First of all, there's time savings. And we see it averages somewhere, depending on how you use it, all up between 80 to 100 hours for the property per month today. I think that number is going to go up as we get even further into using more AI throughout the processes of leasing. But then you have what we call time compression. It was a funny study that was done, and I won't get into all the details, but in short, a study was done called 5,000 Leases, and it found out that when an AI tool was involved, however the source it came from, at least 14 days sooner. Well,
Mm,
why would that be? Well, because it's answering questions accurately 24/7, 365 at 3 p.m., at 3 a.m. It's rescheduling. It's doing all these things and getting information faster, so it's compressing the rent. That is 14 days, at 52 bucks a day or however much it is, 100 bucks a day for rent. That's a significant savings. So you've got that. You've got marketing response. So you
mhm.
have all these leads that aren't being responded to. Well, what happens when it does get responded to? Your leases go up, your cost for marketing goes down. So there's all of these impacts, and that's just scratching the surface. Hundreds of millions of dollars and getting additional leases, time savings, compression, maybe eliminating open positions that you can't fill because we are going to be getting into the very depths of this, and we'll do a case study and get that out so people can see for the first time real material difference and impact on your business so they can start making some broad and big decisions today at the leasing teams.
Yeah, and I've seen the numbers. They are wild.
Staggering in ways that we've never even thought of before. When we really started looking at this, it's not just time savings. There's so many other downstream effects and benefits of AI that for the first time, I think we're really contemplating, and we'll show this.
Switching gears a little bit, I know integrations is a hot topic in our industry, and people have a frustration with certain products not working with other products. What are some ways that AI platforms can work with some of the existing systems we have out there to streamline things and create workflows that make sense?
So I'm going to give a kind of a standard answer, and then I'm going to give a provocative answer.
Okay, I want
The
both.
the 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 standard answer is our industry. You need to have APIs and you need to have integrations and play nice in the sandbox with everybody else, right? So AI is only going to do as well as the data that it's been given. If it
Mhm.
doesn't have availability and pricing and and all that stuff, it isn't going to be able to provide that. So you have to have all those integrations. Here's the provocative answer. AI is going to start eliminating the need to have some of these technologies. I'll just be blunt. CRMs. CRMs are not going to be what we use CRMs today. What is a CRM? It is the tool that organizes tasks for humans to do. You get that? Organizes tasks for humans. Well, if the AI platform is doing those said tasks, non-physical tasks, then what is a CRM left to do? It's not organizing the tasks anymore. So AI platforms are actually going to organize tasks for AI to do. And so you can go in as a human, you can go in and provide oversight, but you're not going to need that CRM anymore because you're not going to have the humans doing it. And there's a cost reduction. Call centers. think you're going to need call centers in a year? When it's answering texts and emails and chats and voice and all that stuff, why do you need a call center? So these are just some of the technologies that are going to vaporize, and I'm talking in the next year. In 12 months, you won't need those. You won't need those anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy how fast things have evolved in our world of AI. And I know you have a stat and you can say it way better than me because I butcher it. But
Okay.
can you share the stat that is talking about, how many people signed up for Netflix in a year? And I can't do it. I'm really,
It's basically, let me see if I can find that. It it was okay. So it
reach
shows,
1 million users.
yeah, and it shows. Okay, so I've got it. All right. So it took to get 1 million users, right? So it took Netflix 3.5 years to reach 1 million users. Airbnb took 2.5 years to reach 1 million users. Facebook took 10 months. Spotify only 5 months to reach 1 million users. Instagram took less than 3 months to get to 1 million users. But check this out. When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, it took 5 days to reach 1 million users. What's even freakier is I got to 100 million users in 2 months. It's not going anywhere, folks. AI is here to stay, and it is growing at a faster pace than anything we have ever seen. So anybody who out there is out there saying or waiting, you need to stop waiting. You need to get on the AI train. So
Yeah.
one way or another, pick your horse. I don't even care which one it is, but pick your horse and start riding it. Because if you don't, you will be left far, far.
Yeah, I remember the first time you shared that stat. I think I got goosebumps because I was like, whoa, that many people were on AI that quickly, and seeing how things are evolving so fast is crazy to watch.
Yeah. Well, and these are not small brands, by the way. Netflix, Airbnb,
Right.
Facebook, Spotify. I mean, these are big, big brands that got massive adoption. And AI just absolutely put it in the corner
Yeah.
in terms of adoption.
I want to talk more about some of the challenges and considerations that property management teams should have. We talked a little bit about, AI can maybe change answers here and there, or there could be security risks. What are some of the other things you may have heard?
You mean with concerns with AI?
Yeah, concerns.
So one of the concerns is, and it's a legitimate one, is hallucinations. People who have studied AI talk about hallucinations. And all that really means,
Hallucinations.
so
Seeing?
yeah, AI can it's called an AI hallucination. So a hallucination, for example, in the world of AI is in the absence of knowing the answer.
Okay, okay. I was like, what? We're gonna start seeing things?
Right. Well, who knows?
Okay.
But it does, because it's so good at
Yeah.
answering questions. It'll answer them sometimes, even when it's wrong, but you can't tell the difference because it's so good. So that's what we'd call an AI hallucination. How do you prevent that? You prevent that by providing prompting. Really, really good prompting is what goes into AI, and providing very strong guardrails with precise prompting and exacting data. If you do that, you're going to have a solid answer. If you don't, you can get hallucination. And of course there's AI is going to disrupt our supply chain. Well, we don't have to worry about that. I mean, yes, the countries are going at it with AI, but look, anything can be used for good or bad, and AI is actually providing a lot of benefit. And out there, some people have some nefarious designs. It is what it is, but we can certainly help people in ways we just discussed.
Yeah. And I know one of the things, like when I use ChatGPT, I'll ask it for the sources and double check and do that as much as I can.
Yeah, that's smart. Those
Yeah.
are smart to do that.
Yeah. Let's talk about, I know another thing that I dealt with on the operator side was if I set something up one time, I had to do it 70 times because I was over 70 properties. So when people are setting up their AI systems, it's likely that they're doing things multiple times. So I want to talk about the scalability when it comes to that and how AI can be set up.
Yeah. So really kind of I think you're referring to is onboarding,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I have AI tool I can set up for one property. Well, how do I do it for 100? This is why companies are specialists. Having specialist companies is very important. So can you grab any AI tool and have it work in multifamily? No, no, you can't. Why not? Well, because that AI tool isn't tapping into the sitemap technology, isn't plugging into the property management software, the CRMs, it's not plugging into real-time data availability, real-time rental prognostication, and all those things. You have to have, I mean, we, for example, have over 100 integrations in some form. We have that so we can pull data real time or near real time,
Yeah.
so that we have this information that the AI can then use to formulate their answers and provide it back to the consumer. So whatever company that a person decides to work with must ask what levels of integration this AI has. If it's outside our industry, I can pretty much guarantee they have none. If it's inside our industry, they may have a few. Ask them, who are you integrated with? How are you integrated with? And how is that being used to feed the AI? That right there is the litmus
Yeah.
around who your next company you should be working with.
Yeah, I will just share when I was on the operator side, I we were vetting BetterBot. I was a customer before I went to work at BetterBot. And we were also told by higher ups that we had to test out this other platform, and I won't say the name. And
Yeah.
honestly, they might not even be in our industry anymore. But
Right.
yeah, they had us test this other one, and it took forever to get set up.
Yeah.
It was such a pain. We only did 3 of them, and each one took forever. And on top of that, they weren't integrating into our system, and so the sites that we were testing on, they lost so many leads and didn't get any of that communication because there was 0 integration happening, and so we had to cut that pretty quickly because of it, and yeah, so
Right.
it's just kinda making sure that you have everything in place before committing to any tool is so important.
That's a great illustration around why. Okay, so they take a little extra time to do the due diligence on what the onboarding process is. If you're thinking about a particular platform or tool, take the extra time to really check off the boxes, fully understand the onboarding, go through the onboarding process with the company, and test it, because the if for every minute you spend on that, you're going to save yourself hours upon hours when you find out that it can't do what you thought it was going to do and you have to walk it back. It's expensive and it's not worth it. So I tell people thoroughly vet the onboarding process, ask every question you can up front. And then you're not going to be surprised, because there are a lot of companies like you who thought they bought one thing and they got something else entirely. Now they're stuck with it. And some people aren't happy when they find out they made a bad decision. So, yeah,
Yeah, and I had a whole Excel spreadsheet and I wasn't just vetting BetterBot, I was vetting a bunch of different companies and I had all my X's and I wish I still had that spreadsheet so I could share it, but I don't. But just making sure you take the time to do that.
couldn't agree more.
So one of the final things I want to talk about, what are some of the future advancements that you see coming in AI and how is it going to impact our industry? I know that's a
Let's talk
loaded
about
one.
this one. Let's talk about today, tomorrow, and the day after. So
Yeah.
today, you've got the basics communication channels. So being able to communicate via various channels like text and chat and email and voice, right? So these are those. Being able to help in the funnel process of pre-leasing, leasing, resident move out. So these are all immediate areas that AI is, you're going to start to see it filter its way in and throughout all these processes, adding
Yeah.
new features. They're all referred to as skills. Then it's going to start encroaching things like CRMs and other technologies. And if we're really being honest, hey, watch out, internet listing sites, ILSs, if they don't adopt, it's the old adapt or die, because if they don't really start thinking through the new way in which AI can be utilized for this, I think ILSs are on the block. I won't get into details on that, but so yeah, you're going to, and look, let me kind of just land the plane with this, if you will. I have seen so many technologies come and go in 25 years, all had some kind of impact. The internet listing sites, when we started apartmentguide.com, went through all these different sites, and we've seen chat, we've seen social media, right? And we saw text and mobile, and all these things have come in. You know what they didn't really do? They didn't really change the operational aspects of a business. They changed how you found. They still generated leads, but you still had leasing agents still doing stuff, right?
Yeah.
Operationally speaking, it didn't really change that much. It changed it on kind of the marketing. AI is the first time I have seen in 25 years that will actually materially change the operational aspects of businesses. And that is a much bigger budget, and that is a much bigger impact when you look at these businesses. So that's where I see operationally it benefiting companies moving forward. And look, people are trying to figure out how to handle the economy. Is a little, people are struggling, and the economics. Everyone's trying to streamline and scale back. Well, AI isn't an added expense. AI is just going to help you reduce your expenses, and this is what we need to adapt.
Yeah, I was on a webinar earlier, and I believe it was my friend Justin Jones. He was saying that our industry really invests. I hope I'm not butchering this. I butcher every story that I tell, but our industry invests about 1% into new technologies, and that it feels true. Like we really don't, and we're going to have to start doing that. Especially because now it is gonna start hitting areas like operations. When it was marketing, sometimes marketing gets overlooked, and when it's operations, it's gonna be a bigger. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And he's absolutely right. And so there's this whole, and there's multifamily's 5 to 8 years behind everyone else. But I do see a younger generation coming in that is bringing with it the technologies like social media, like mobile and AI. And I do think we're going to catch up. I think we're going to start making some real big leaps in our industry over these next 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, and I just think about how fast ChatGPT came onto the scene. I mean, I'm hoping that it impacts our industry just as quickly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it will. It will. And if we have anything, we're going to certainly help.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so my final question, and this is something I ask everybody, is it does not have to do with what we covered today, but is there a tech tool that you're really loving right now that you want to share with people?
And this is going to be totally obvious and self-serving.
Don't say ChatGPT.
I love ChatGPT. I just love it. I can't get enough of it. You know how many I just have fun with it all the time. I'm sure I'll get bored of it eventually, but if you're going to ask me my favorite go-to, of course it's ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Now I'm using like Bard and all these. There's other large language models that are out there that I'm having fun with. So it's not just ChatGPT. And each large language model has a different flavor. Different.
That's what I was going to ask because I haven't really experimented much with any of the other ones. I usually just use ChatGPT.
Yeah.
So you have noticed a difference.
Some might be a little more empathetic. Some might be a little more storytelling. Some might
Mm.
be data analytic. So they actually, like people, these large language models do have kind of their own personalities dictated to it by some of the developers and how they wrote the algorithms to gather the information. So it does take on different personas. And there are about 12, I'd say 12 sizable large language models out there. The most well known is ChatGPT. Yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I could come up with something more original, but
Yes,
I love
too.
it. That'll change.
Yeah.
So sorry to be boring, but it is.
That's my favorite too. I pretty much use it for everything. And I mean, you still need the human element there to shape it and get the right prompts out there, but it can do anything.
I mean, my other favorite's golf now because I like to play golf and I can register tee times. So golf now gives me
Is
tee
that just
times.
an app or does it do anything
It's
cool?
it's a
Okay.
website and an app. So it helps you find golf courses, tee times all around, and so you don't have to call
Oh,
around.
that's kind of a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you're a golfer, golf now is pretty good. So just to be different.
I like it. Awesome. Well, thank you for being on my podcast and being one of my first guests. And where can listeners connect with you if they want to learn more?
Yeah, real easy. You're welcome to email me at robert@betterbot.com is probably the best. Just email me, and I love to talk to people in our industry. I love to foster friendships, partnerships, relationships. So yeah, reach out. Any questions? You just want to chat? Give me a shout.
Awesome. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Stephanie.